collectors and Star Trek fans. Once again, it's the one and only Optibotimus coming at you with another video review. And on today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at the new EXO-6 Star Trek Deep Space Nine 1/6 scale Captain Benjamin Sisko, specifically the SX version. Now, recently, EXO-6 has been doing a great job of branching out and covering all aspects of the Star Trek franchise. Whether it be the original series, the motion picture, Star Trek The Next Generation, Voyager, or even Discovery. With the release of Captain Sisko, it branches out even further to finally cover one of my favorite Star Trek series of all time, Deep Space Nine. And of course, you cannot start this series out without giving us one of the best captains in all of Starfleet history. For the package, as you can see, gorgeous image of the figure right there in the front. You got EXO-6 there at the top, Star Trek Deep Space Nine. As I did mention, this is the XS version, which basically refers to the fact that this is the deluxe release. There is a more essentials version, which comes with a few less accessories and it has a slightly cheaper price point. But when it comes to 1/6 scale figures, I always think more is better. And while what a lot of 6 scale companies do is release region-specific editions, which give extra accessories, EXO-6 decided to go a different route with releasing a standard and a deluxe version that you can pick and choose from regardless of your region, which I think is a great way of doing it. But continuing on with the box, you can see you got a really nice up-close image of Avery Brooks right there. You got DS9 there in the background. Coming to the side, and like all of them, you can see that you have other characters that are out there. And this is interesting because this is obviously in that post-first contact look in terms of the outfit. All of these ones, though, primarily from what I can tell, like with Worf, Jadzia, kind of hard to see here with O'Brien, but you can definitely see it with Bashir, that it is the pre-first contact look, which I really do hope that they stick with this costume and not with this one. But even when you look at this, this is Captain Sisko with the black and then the red on the shoulder. So hopefully they stick with this going forward. Come around to the back of the package, and you can see all the accessories that are included in it, including the exclusive versions, which give you a vest, a different shirt, which allows you to kind of zip it down from the neck section, a vodka tumbler, and the Type 3 phaser. Now, the standard version comes with basically everything else. It comes with the figure, comes with the different shirt, comes with a phaser, tricorder, baseball, a pad. And like I said, they refer to that as basically the essentials version. This extra version really does allow you to kind of recreate a scene which was very iconic in the original Deep Space Nine show, which was Captain Sisko talking about how he essentially tricked the Romulans into joining the war. Then when obviously you slide this up, you got the open window that fully showcases the figure. You still have the cast and credits that are responsible for making it, a QR code going to the instructions, but you don't need to watch that. You can watch my video on it. And then you're done, you can slip this back on and put it into storage. But for the packaging on this, that's about it. So without further ado, let's get him out here and see how cool he actually is. And here we have Captain Sisko opened up and out of his packaging. And starting off first, I'm going to focus initially on the accessories that come with what is referred to as the Essentials version, which is basically everything on this side. Starting off first, much like all of them, you do get this really nice display base with a couple different options here. Number one, you do have this like white and black section, and then this blue section here, which is designed to kind of replicate a transporter pad, where this is meant to be the outer section of the transporter pad that goes kind of all the way around, and then this being the middle section of it. And you can take this piece, you can remove that just like so. This piece here will very carefully kind of go around the edges and pull this up and off. It is on there very tight, so that's why I say be careful as you do it, but you're going to just go all the way around, loosening all of those little sections, and then you can pull this piece off. Now, if you want to just use this as a base, you can, but you have this little bottom section that can remove and then fits very nicely in some little groove areas right there. And then you can take this, you can put that right there like that. You can plug this back in however you really want to do it, your personal choice. They have started printing on this CBS Studios logo, which kind of is ugly, but realistically, you could take this, put this here in the back, and keep that on the back so that you don't see it. So it's your personal choice on how you want to do it. And then you have this adjustable cradle that allows you to utilize him to stand. You also do get these extra pieces that... stay right there. None of that falling over. But you got these extra pieces that allow you to connect those different display bases. You also do get this, what they call an autograph card. You have a little clear bit that you can put in the front here, which you do have a little film on there that you can remove. They recommend using tape to kind of put it on there and peel it off. I leave it on there just to kind of protect it, but you can see it's done up to look like the blueprints or the LCAR screen for Deep Space Nine, which is cool. So you get a top view and a side view of the station. I absolutely love that. That's really very, very nice. Deep Space Nine, like I said, is my favorite show in Star Trek. I just think it was so incredibly well done. But that's for the display base. Now, you also do get several different hands. You get 2 pairs of relaxed hands that are currently on him. You also get a pair of fisted hands for when he loses his temper and he wants to punch something. This is rolling away because it will roll away, so I'm going to try it and put that in a spot. How about we just look at it right now? It's a baseball. One of the most iconic things about Captain Sisko was his love of baseball. And you got a little tiny baseball here. I do kind of wish it was a little bit dirty. Not because, you know, it was a really gross, dirty baseball or anything, but there was some handling of it. So it always had a little bit of a dirt on there, but I think this is absolutely fantastic. I love it. And you also do get a hand that is designed to kind of go along with holding it. It's tricky to do. Wait, is that the hand? Wait. No, yeah, that's definitely the hand. So you can kind of see how the fingers are positioned. You wedge this in there. Now, one thing that it's like you can kind of squeeze that together, but you put that in there and it feels like it's going to just spread right back out. So you kind of have to wedge it down with the lower fingers, just kind of get it in there. But you can have him holding the ball, which is great. Now, this hand also goes along with another accessory that comes with the SX version, but it's used in the same way. But I do kind of wish that... I'm dropping it. I do wish the fingers... Now, you could heat this up and probably warp that in a little bit more, but I kind of wish that this was a little bit tighter of a grip on there. That's more than likely how I'm going to display him. I always have my figures displayed with one of their accessories, and this was very iconic for him. It sat on a little table thing, and you can almost use that to say, oh no, that's a little bit too big. But a little display base, which I wish it came with the display base, but I still love the fact that they included that. Now, putting that there, because it's going to roll away. Like I said, you do get this hand that, again, can be used with another accessory. But you also do get a couple other hands. You get a hand that is designed more so to kind of hold the phaser. You got that can slide right down there, and then you want to position the thumb there, where he's going to hold that beautiful dolphin phaser or cobra phaser. I've always referred to it as the cobra. A lot of people, or the dolphin, a lot of people refer to this as the cobra phaser, and I don't really know what the difference is, to be totally honest. But this hand is more designed to work with this. You can also use this, though, with the included pad. You just kind of hold it in there, and that holds pretty decently. You do have this more open hand here. No, that's not one. This open hand, which... again, it's kind of big enough, but not entirely big enough. You can wedge this down there, and you just gotta kind of force it in. So you can have him holding the pad on this, which this is an amazing amount of detail when you look at this. Coming in so you can see that. Here, actually, let me turn on my little extra light so you can see that pretty decently. But that is really cool. I love the fact that they have what looks like the blueprints there of Deep Space Nine as well. That's some amazing detail. I'm really quite impressed with how that turned out. But you can have them hold it with this hand. But you also do have that tricorder that we've seen with a lot of the other Star Trek figures. It is magnetic, so you can have that there. And then this can wedge in there. Again, you do have to kind of squeeze these to kind of get them to hold it pretty decently. But again, great detail on this. I'll come in so you can see that as well. get as close as I can. I mean, that is amazing detail, and their stickers look fantastic. The paint applications, all very well done. But as you can see, the hands just don't have as tight of a grip on it. So you do have to be kind of careful when you're doing it and just kind of get some wedging and some friction. Like there's a little bit of holding right there. So that is really cool. Absolutely love the way that turned out. Very impressive just in general. So you get a lot of those accessories, which really do help to kind of complete the entire thing. You also do have the little holder right here. Now, if I'm not mistaken, this, I know that they do, but I believe that he wore the tricorder on that hip. And then for the phaser, you do get this section as well. Put that there, and then come around here, bring it close enough, and it will magnetize. And like I said, I do believe he wore the phaser on that hip as well. So you get a lot of different hands that do a lot of different things. But that's primarily the main release for the most part. The what they call like the standard edition, which I feel like the essentials version is pretty much that, but the standard edition is the one that comes with the extra accessories. So you get this extra shirt. Now there is a difference between the shirts. You can kind of see that this one does not have the zipper section on it, whereas this one does, because in this scene he was wearing this shirt with the zipper kind of undone, exposing his chest a little bit, and he had this vest on him. Now this vest is held together by Velcro. You can't actually remove this Velcro, so if you wanted to have this closed on him you could, but realistically it was always undone. So you get this extra piece of Velcro that just sits on the inside, which works perfectly fine. But setting that out to the side, he was wearing, I'm just gonna do a quick and dirty kind of look here. I'll show you how to actually put this on later on. It is kind of a pain, to be honest with you, but he had this on like that. He had this unzipped. He was kind of in his quarters, just relaxed, talking to the personal log and recording his accounts of how he got the Romulans involved in the Dominion War. So this was a really cool kind of idea to include with it. Did it need to be? No, but I think that it created it allows you to recreate a very iconic scene. So you do get these two pieces, which are exclusive, and then in that scene you also saw him drinking a glass of what I'm assuming is vodka. Now this is one of those extra accessories. The problem though is like this you can hear how thin this is. It is a very thin plastic, so that is kind of unfortunate. It works still perfectly fine, but you can see that you take this, put that in there, and now you can have him holding his glass like he did in that scene where he stood up and he's like saluting the Romulans coming in. But you can kind of see that this has this little bit in here which kind of recreates a drink inside there. That's really very cool, but you can see like the outer edges are very thin, which give you a very thin sound to it. So again, another very episodic specific accessory, which I think is fantastic. But he also does come with the Type 3 phaser that I don't know if I really remember him using the Type 3 phaser in that particular scene. I haven't watched that episode in a while, but I love the look of this Type 3 phaser. It's basically one of those Dolphin or Cobra phasers, but in a rifle form. I believe this is the first time that we've gotten this. This is really cool. I absolutely dig it. But to go along with that, you do get an extra pair of hands. One that can hold the lower section down here. You just wedge that there. And then this one, which is going to hold this upper handle. Captain Sisko was, and like I talked about, probably my favorite TV series of Star Trek, and he's one of my favorite captains. He 100% was a wartime style captain, and getting this to go along with him is a really cool accessory, and great detail with this as well. When you look at all the paint applications that are on here, the attention to detail that's on here, you got this nice strap that comes in. If I come in to take a closer look at that here with you guys being able to focus on it, again, great detail all the way around in terms of the buttons here at the top. You even have this section here, which this is hard to get this. This will fold back so you can have the sight right there, which I think is really very cool. There's a lot of times where you saw Sisko on the front lines using this as a weapon, and I think that it's a wonderful inclusion with this set, which really does help to, again, give you a well-rounded sort of release. This is really cool. But that's everything that you get here with this overall release. A lot of accessories. It's about $15, or like $35, I should say, above the more essentials version, which just includes like all that stuff. But I think getting things like this, the jacket, the phaser, the extra hands, and then the drink glass, those are all extra accessories that I think are worth that extra $35 increase in price. Is it really necessary though? It just kind of depends. Do you want to display him looking a little bit more relaxed, which he did quite often, or do you want him looking more like that? If you want that look, the Essentials version is going to be perfect for you. At $175, you're going to get a good figure that's going to do what it needs to do. Replicate how Commander Sisko looks. If you want to take it a little bit further and recreate that scene from that episode, this is a great value. So it's all personal preference, I suppose. But now, coming in to take a closer look at Captain Sisko himself, now coming in to take a closer look at the details, you can really see that EXO-6 has done a tremendous job of recreating the look of Avery Brooks as Captain Sisko. The sculpt is fantastic. Even when you look at like the facial hair here, it looks really very good, especially with some like lighter elements that really capture that aged look that he had as he got older in the series. One thing though that I noticed in some other videos, and nobody ever really mentions it, but there is a very distinct difference in skin coloring between the head and the body, and that is very noticeable and very ugly. The portrait is fantastic, but one thing that I will definitely say that sets other 6 scale companies apart is they pay attention to small little details like this. We are paying premium prices for these figures, and while for the most part EXO-6 nails it, and I'll be totally honest, I don't remember that being that big of a difference with their recent Tuvok figure, but that is definitely noticeable, and not a very big fan of how that turned out. Like I said, we do pay premium prices for these figures, and we expect high quality attention to detail. That to me though isn't it. They really should have matched the entire body with that, especially since you can display this guy with his jacket and his shirt unzipped, kind of exposing his chest a little bit. And you'll see that here in a little bit, but overall though, the rest of the figure does look great. Their costuming detail is always top notch. You can see that that shirt sits beautifully underneath, and then the jacket there with the different line work, the different sewing, all of that looks really good. You got the Starfleet logo right there. Does kind of, I mean, there is a bit of a padding in here to kind of bulk him up because Avery Brooks was a little bit bigger of a guy. One thing that I'll say though is the arms didn't get any of that. So you do tend to have this look where his body has a little bit of bulk to him, but the arms really don't. Those definitely look very thin. You can see as it comes down here, kind of makes him look like, because there's like this bulge right here, that kind of makes him look like he's got a belly. But not even really a belly. It like poofs out there. So I feel that could be tightened up a little bit better. It's not terrible by any stretch, but again, as a reviewer, I have to notice that kind of stuff. You can see, as I talked about, these little accessories can magnetically clip on right there, which is fantastic. But again, you come down to the hands, and this isn't nearly as bad as the rest of the skin tone. That kind of matches a little bit better. It's just the body for the most part. You can see that he's got the little stripes around the cuff of his jacket. You come down, gorgeous pants, gorgeous boots. You have the little strap right here, which keeps the pants nice and tight. And then, like I was saying, you can swap out that original look, which this is, with that more episode specific. Sorry, I'm going crazy with my camera zooming. But you can do that fairly easily for the most part But it does get a little bit tricky. First, what you're going to want to do, easy, is just remove the hands, just like so. Set that off to the side like that. And then you want to unvelcro the jacket. Kind of pull this away. It might be a little bit easier, too, to kind of take off the head as we go on. So just pop that off, just like that. I wonder if you can do something. Yeah, what about it, bub? No, that's definitely not what you want to do. And then bring the arms back a little, and then you want to take this, and just kind of pull this down, and you're undressing them. That's literally what you're doing. If my girlfriend were to walk in, she would say that I'm playing with my dolls because I'm dressing them up. So again, just slide this off, just like that. Nice and easy. Take your time. Again, you don't want to damage anything. Pull it out. But you can see what I was kind of talking about, how like this little bit here, he's got this little padding that kind of gives him a belly, makes it stick out pretty far. And take these little straps, bring these down as well. Bring that all the way down. Oops. There we go. Just like so. Now, you come down to his pants. You got this little zipper right here. Just kind of bring that down. It's definitely tricky to get to, but just kind of do that. And then you can bring the pants down. Now, as you do that, kind of want to very gently, as you're doing it, pull down all the way around. That way, again, you don't put too much pressure on one side. So just bring that down. Get this all the way down to his legs. Just keep on doing it. I know it takes a while to do, but the whole process takes a while to do. So just kind of pull that down. This is why I don't usually swap out my clothes on my figures too much. Now, this is a little bit tricky. This here, again, you kind of really pull that down. There we go. Get that all the way down there. Now, this is hard to do. You got a little Velcro strap right here that you take this, and it's tricky because you don't want to go too terribly far down. This kind of comes around underneath, and then this front section has a little Velcro piece that you bring around, and it looks awkward, but it doesn't really stay on. The Velcro on there is really quite poor. At least it stays down pretty decently, so you can kind of keep that nice and smooth. But what you want to do is then detach this, and you're going to pull this whole section up. Again, kind of do this. Here, let's try putting the arms up, doing it that way. There we go. I know everybody's watching and just kind of like cut this part out, but I want to show it to you so you can see the whole process. So again, kind of pull this, just slowly lift this up and over. And this is where you can see the body underneath. And again, you got the little padding section right here, but this is definitely not the right skin tone for him. And you can really see that. And that's definitely unfortunate. I'm not a very big fan of that. But this is where you then take this other shirt. You can see that it has a zipper on here, which is kind of interesting because this one doesn't really have a zipper too much, but they definitely wore this throughout the show. So we're going to bring this up and over. And this is the part where things get a little bit tricky to do. You have to kind of bring these arms around. But this is also where you can really see the body type on here. And this is definitely, I want to say, I don't think that this is the same body that they've used for other figures, because it doesn't really have that same like hinging section here. So I don't know if it's the exact same body, but you're just going to have to play around with it a little bit. Get that there. Okay, so again, now we're going to bring this in, bring these arms up, and this is the part where I will cut. So let's get this shirt actually on this guy. All right, there we go. So now we have that on there, and you can kind of, again, futz around with this a little bit, but this is where you also need to take this little Velcro piece, bring this back and around, kind of hold that there, and then bring the front Velcro piece around and attach that. Now this one still is not very good, but at least it kind of holds on there a little bit better than the other one did. So that's definitely something that I feel should be improved upon if you're going to do something like that. Just get that on there as best as you possibly can. And this is where now it kind of just, again, futz with things and bring the pants up. Get everything kind of situated with them. But I do like the fact that they put that little Velcro thing in there because it really holds the shirt in nice and tight. I just wish it was better on that one because I do prefer that look for him again. So then straighten all this out. Then bring the straps, or his suspenders, I guess, up and over, up to the top, up to the top. And then you want to zip his zipper, just like that. Now this part right here, this is kind of personal preference. You can kind of leave this kind of as far down as you want. Really doesn't matter how you want to do it. But then you take the vest, put the vest on him, and sometimes you would see him walking around wearing this. It was even weirder when occasionally you would see him wearing the vest and the full jacket, which you can definitely do, but this is going to just shift up here. There we go, get around that elbow section. There we go. Come on. That's definitely fairly tight there. So again, bring that all the way up. There we are. And now you have this kind of look for him. And again, occasionally you did see him walking around with this on, which just seemed kind of redundant. Like, why do you need to have that vest over the jacket? But I guess, you know, you can do whatever you want. So again, just kind of straighten that. Straighten that. Again, futz with that a little bit. Now, if you wanted to have this kind of attach right here, you do have that extra Velcro piece that you can put on the inside here if you are so inclined. But again, he in this particular scene, he didn't have his vest done up, but you can do that if you want to. But again, occasionally he would walk around like that, so it's an option that you have. So pulling this down like that, leaving it like so, and this is where then you can redress him, or not redress him, but put the body pieces and such back on here. So let's kind of get his head situated. The little ball joint there kind of likes to move around, so you can line that there, pop that down just like that, then just kind of pop his collar a bit. Now, because in this particular scene he was holding that little cup, I'm going to do that. So again, put that on there, get that on nice like so. Bring in his other hand. Now this is part of kind of what I was talking about before in terms of like the thinness of his arms. You can bring this down. You can you can even see though that the body type here definitely does not match the color of that. That's definitely off. So you really need to make sure you keep that sleeve pulled down. But when you do this, let's see, where's that cup? And then you can do that and have him hold this. And that was that scene. That's how he looked when he was welcoming the Romulans to the Dominion War. So really cool that they make it where you can recreate that. And I do like the fact that they offer like an essentials version where you don't have to have that look, and an expanded version where you could do something like this. I think that's cool that they do that. But like I was talking about, the biggest problem that I have with this when you look at it is his arms look very thin in this. The rest of him, I mean, Avery Brooks was a pretty big dude in general. Like, he was kind of bulky, right? And I feel like this kind of creates a thinness with his arm that I'm not a very big fan of in general. It's not bad, but again, as a review, I have to mention it to you. So it is what it is. But again, like I said, you can have the shirt section zip down, which, like I said, he was a little bit more relaxed. So this is, again, where you see that big difference between the two different skin tones, which I'm not a big fan of. I do like the fact that they still have the Captain Pips right here, much like the rest of them. But absolutely gorgeous. I mean, other than a few minor details on here in terms of the skin tone and the thinness of the arms, this is a terrific figure. It really, really is. But things are rarely perfect, so it's worth noting to you guys. Now, for his articulation, the head is on that ball joint, as you can see, so you can get a real good range of motion with it looking up, down. You can even kind of see just in general, this whole area looks fairly thin on him. I don't know. I mean, I've watched Deep Space Nine dozens and dozens of times, and he just doesn't have this thinness to him, I guess. But you really can, like I showed you here, you can bulk him up by having this. So that is nice. So you do have the ball joint there. The shoulders here do move in and out. You can kind of hear nice ratchet joints. They move forward and back. The shirt really doesn't restrict much as you're able to kind of move it around. But it doesn't seem to have that shifting joint like all the other figures do. So, like I said, I do think that this is a different body that they're using for him. It's not bad or anything, but it does kind of reduce the amount of articulation there. You do have a swivel at the bicep. You do have two bends here at the knee, so he can drink that vodka if he really wanted to. The wrists do rotate. They do have the hinge forward and back. He does have an upper diaphragm joint as well as a swivel, so you can kind of get some poses going on there. The hips do move forward and back. The pants do kind of restrict things a little bit, but you don't really need a lot of dynamic poses with them. They move in and out, but again, there is some tightness in the pants once you get to a certain point. The thighs here do rotate. You can also feel some padding inside there, which is nice. So again, they bulked them up a little bit, just not up here. You do have two bends at the knee, come down to the ankle. Those do rotate. They do have a ball joint down there, so you get a good flex and pose, kind of doing whatever you really want with the guy. But in general, a very, very well-made figure. But I definitely feel like a few corners were cut with him. Primarily in terms of the skin coloring and the bulking of his, just in general, body. Now, regardless of what you think about Star Trek, if you collect 1/6 scale figures, we can all probably agree that the price that we pay for these figures really should reflect an absolute high level of quality. And for the most part, EXO-6 continuously delivers on that. Releasing two versions of Captain Sisko here, I think, is really very cool. It allows people to get a more essentials version, which allows you to display Captain Sisko pretty much how he always looked in the later seasons of Star Trek Deep Space Nine. But you also do have the option of getting that deluxe version of him, which allows you to create more of a episode-specific look for him. And it allows you to kind of plan your budget accordingly. Varying from $175, I think, up to $215, I think it is, gives you that flexibility to decide which version you want. And I think that the prices for both of those versions are fairly appropriate. But again, that being said, that price is more designed for higher end collectors. And while EXO-6 seems to not really care about 1/6 scale collectors, they constantly talk about how these figures are designed for Star Trek fans, which obviously, when you take something that's 1/6 scale and increase it, imperfections are magnified. You know, a smaller 1/12 scale figure, you can kind of get away with it because you can't put as much of that detail in there. When you blow the scale up, it becomes even more noticeable. And even more noticeable still when you go up to quarter scale, which they haven't delved into yet. I don't really know why they would. But 1/6 scale still does put a lot of emphasis on the detail that's in these figures. And as I said, for the most part, EXO-6 nails it. But a couple things here, specifically with Captain Sisko, really do stand out. Number one, and the biggest thing, would definitely be the different skin tone between the body as well as the head. Now, you can kind of mitigate it when you make this collar piece come up a little bit higher, but you can definitely see the different color there, and that does bug me. Now, granted, from the front, you're not going to see it that much, but again, when you pay this much, from all angles, it should shine. And that, for me, is the biggest issue with this. It's not something that I think is going to make me regret buying this figure. But as a reviewer, again, I need to point it out so that you guys know. And you have the most informed decision possible if you decide to pick this figure up. The other thing that I think they could have done a little bit better job of is bulking his arms up a little bit. They're not bad, but I do wish that there was a little bit more padding in there because they do look fairly thin. Now, when he has this jacket on, sorry, I'm hitting the camera, it doesn't stand out nearly as much. But again, it is slightly noticeable and worth pointing out, in my opinion. Neither of those criticisms that I pointed out mean that this figure is bad by any stretch of the imagination. And 1000% would I recommend it if you are a Star Trek collector. For me, Captain Sisko is amazing, and I absolutely love the character in the show. So this was an instant pre-order for me. I just feel that in a market that is got a lot of heavy hitters in it in terms of 1/6 scale products, EXO-6 needs to pay close attention to a lot of those details. That way they can really set themselves apart from other 6 scale companies. And I definitely think that they can do that. The passion is there, the talent is there, and every single company gets better the longer they're around. And EXO-6 is fairly new. So I have high hopes that they will continue to improve and make their subsequent releases even that much better. So all that being said, if Captain Sisko is a figure that you would like to add to your collection, I'm going to put a couple links right down there in the video description to both Big Bad Toy Store as well as EXO-6's own website, where you can check out availability on him as well as the rest of the wide range of 1/6 scale figures. But beyond that, guys, that's about it. Once again, I want to thank you all so much for tuning in and watching, and as always, please remember that the real trouble with the world is that too many people grow up. And until next time, this is Optibotimus saying adios, au revoir, and auf Wiedersehen.